My name is Natalie Dielman. I'm on the staff of the U2 conference, and we're here tonight with several board members of the African Well Fund. And I'll let you all introduce yourselves. Maybe I can call on people because I know it can be awkward, so we're not hopping over each other. So I'll start with Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Yoder. I'm a founding member and current board chair of the African Well Fund. As I said, I'm a founding member, so I've been here since the beginning. I live in upstate New York, and for my day job, I work for a nonprofit organization called Mayan Hands. We work with women artisans in Guatemala.
Fantastic. Thanks, Diane. Allie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ali Marcel. I am not a founding member, but I've been a board member since 2010. And before that, I volunteered for a couple of years. When I'm not doing this and following you two around, I'm a university administrator at a university in Southern California. And not that one, not USC.
Laura.
Hey, I'm Lara Weinman. I founded AWF with Diane and I think 3 or 4 other people through a U2 forum. So that was fun. I'm sure we'll get into that history shortly. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I guess day job is operations and implementations at a creative agency. Off day job is I've taken up quilting and I like to make really weird looking stuff.
Awesome. Do you make U2 quilts?
I don't make U2 quilts, and I don't know if we're going to go into this, but I've made Bono's birthday card every year.
Yeah, so great.
Awesome. And the last couple have been quilted, yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Great. And Anne.
Hi, Anne Simone. I've been with the African Well Fund. I watched it kind of get together. I joined about a year later. It was kind of fun, like people from different forums kind of like, oh, they all know each other. It was really cool. I do the books. I joined the board and I've been treasurer since 2020. And my real life job is accounting. I'm accounting manager, and I'm also active with the One campaign.
Great. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. I definitely want to hear about the founding and the origin of the Well Fund, but if you could maybe start with what is the African Well Fund? Just give us, all the information that if we didn't know anything about it, we would want to know.
Well, the African Well Fund is a grassroots registered nonprofit organization that's dedicated to raising funds to implement water and sanitation projects in sub-Saharan Africa. So our name pretty much says it all. We raise money for well projects. We've been doing it since 2003. And I think, and the latest numbers we're closing in on.
I think we were getting close for the history of the organization. I think we were getting close to 1.5 million.
Yeah, 1.5 million.
I think that's what it was.
And in our entire history, we've been volunteer run. It's always just volunteer board of directors, which, we're the staff, we're, service everything. And so it's been completely, no paid employees, just as grassroots as you can get. And we've been able to do at least one well project a year for the last 20 years, some years more than one. But no, 22 years. So how many years?
22.
Yeah, so it's pretty basic, just like, water is a basic need. Our organizations, just like honed in on that basic necessity. And we've kept things really basic as far as, what we're all about structurally.
And so what is the history? Like, how did this come about? You mentioned forums.
I can
There
talk.
you go.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
jump in. So I'm the other OG here. Uh, we were all on, I want to say, interference. And
Hmm.
it was back when MTV was doing documentaries of like actually important stuff and not just like people getting laid in New Jersey, I guess. I don't know. I don't watch MTV anymore. But they had taken Bono with, oh God, who was the Secretary of State at the time? Paul someone.
O'Neill.
O'Neill.
Neil, thank you. It totally slipped me. To Sub-Saharan Africa, and just followed him around for I think an hour. And there was one clip where they were in a village, looking at a water well, and just off the cuff, I believe it was Bono who said, "This only costs $1,000, and this is bringing life to this whole community." So those of us, I think there was 5 or 6 of us that was in this, I think, Hearts and Mind part of the forum. We're like, "Oh, did you see that? $1,000? Seriously? What? I mean, that's like 100 people, like foregoing a cup of coffee a day." And so we actually just put it out there, like, if you want to donate something, and I don't even remember if we used PayPal or what we used back then, donate, and we actually raised it like really quickly. So a couple months, then we started forming on Yahoo groups. That's how old we are. Yeah. Um, and it got to be, I think, around April or whatnot, and we were talking about what our like real fundraiser could be. And we were like, well, it has to be about Bono. You know, he's our inspiration. And then someone said, well, what do you even get Bono for a birthday present? I mean, he has everything he could possibly want. And then we're like, oh shit, clean water. Okay. So I believe that first theme was, what do you get a man who has everything? And I don't remember how much we raised, Diane,
Yeah,
but
it was over 10,000
it was
the
about
first
10,000.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay, well, that was also pretty easy. All right. So then we really started researching and putting a call out to people who like had different skill sets and whatnot, like a legal background, a IT background, a design background, nonprofit. Somehow fate brought one of everybody together, and we
Hmm.
were able to just figure out what we needed to do, where we needed to go, and kind of how we would get there. And I don't know, within a year, we had the 501c, uh, and I think we had a website even maybe, and a logo, and we were coming up with ideas we could put on the website for other people to raise money, and that's really where most of our monies come from, are like church and school fundraisers. So we, put a list of like 20 things that you can do, like collect pennies or do a walk run, et cetera, et cetera. I can't remember now. And people were doing it, and it was awesome.
That's amazing. I mean, it's
No,
just amazing that like a YouTube fan forum connected people and then, like was the impetus really for this organization. Well, one of the avenues for this organization to be founded. I mean,
yeah.
it's just
Although one
incredible.
of the stigmas we do have is that Bono works for us, or that we know Bono, which is like completely so far from the truth. And we have to tell people that no, this is, just some people who want to make change in the world. So
Yeah, I think too, like it's always I always wonder like is U2 a group that just draws people who are interested in activism, who want to make a better world? Like what is the relationship, the connection between being a U2 fan and sort of having something in your heart where you want to make the world a better place? It's just, I don't know. It's something I think about a lot.
Yeah, I wonder, how unique we are as an organization, just as far as being a nonprofit that, was started by YouTube fans and, it remains run by YouTube fans. I think, we do have other fundraisers, but especially in recent years, it's pretty much the Bono birthday well. That's our big fundraiser every year. But 20 years in, you have this nonprofit organization based on a band's fandom, doing this kind of work. I have to think it's unique. I mean, I know that there's other bands whose fans, donate to causes that band members, but I don't know that there's an actual nonprofit that's been in existence for this long doing this kind of work at this scale, over time scale. I kind of think it's unique.
I mean, the band has always been politically motivated and also of service to people. They've definitely used their lot in life where they are to enact change, raise money for things, draw attention to things. So I think probably the people who become the real serious fans like us and other not so serious fans are drawn in by kind of that kindness and goodwill and community. I mean, when you see U2 live, the most overwhelming thing is being a part of this community. And the Bono fundraiser has always felt like a community coming together. People leave messages for Bono in a birthday card situation that we send to him, and reading some of them are just so heartwarming and endearing. And Bono specifically has really changed so many people's lives for the better, whether it's fans or people in receipt of things he's done.
Definitely. So can you talk a little bit about the Bono Birthday Well fundraiser?
I'm going to shut up. So Anne or Allie, you haven't said anything yet.
So the Bono Birthday Well initiative is so basically we campaign to have people donate to the fundraiser, and then they can, we put a link for them to do the donation, and then they can sign the card. And beforehand, we pick a project. We kind of try to find a project that we're going to fund so that we can tell the donors what we're working towards. And then we started at about the beginning of May, the end of April, and it runs through the end of June. And all the funds, like I said, the fans can donate, can sign the card, and then it kind of shuts down at the end of June, and we announce the total, and then Laura puts together these beautiful cards to send to him, and then we have an email at principal that we just kind of ask, where do we mail this year? Sometimes we've been lucky enough to give it to him in person. There was one time, it was the delay of the 360 tour. It was 2011, and they were able to present the card to him in Nashville in person, and that was really exciting. And
other times we just stalk him at the back door and throw it at him, be like, here you go.
So,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Anne.
No, you're fine. Yeah, and we just, are so grateful for everybody who participates and helps us, raise this money. And Bono has told us a couple times that how much he appreciates this. He wrote a note to the organization in, I think it was 2004 or 5, way back. Maybe it was 6. I don't know the exact year, but it was way back. That that he said that it was one of his favorite gifts, and he just really appreciates it. So
there's actually something that just reminded me of that I think is really integral in knowing about the African Well Fund. If we go back to that first question, is we try to partner with organizations where the most amount of the money donated goes to the actual well building, and that they involve the community in all the projects, and that there's upkeep of the well. It's not
Mhm.
just like go in, build it, and leave. And for the first 15 years, we partnered with the group called Africare, who was based in Washington, D.C., and now they're based in sub-Saharan Africa. And we really partnered with them. They found us projects that would benefit the most amount of people, and the resources were available. And it wasn't just like them coming in and building a well. It was them coming in and providing education to the community members, providing jobs to the community members, uh, obviously making more healthy. So I think it's important to say that, because a lot of organizations, you don't know where your money goes, and we absolutely know where our money goes. In the past year, more recent years, we've used more, I don't want to say local, more other grassroots
Yeah, more on the ground.
or
Yeah.
on the ground, and they can actually send us photos and journals of the projects.
Oh, wow.
So that's really cool. If you keep an eye on our Facebook page, we update that regularly with photos and stories.
The project this year is with Life Water Kenya, and it's our first project in Kenya. And actually, we were a little bit scrambling to find a project this year, and we had one of our board members who is not on the call now, Angela Martin. She's one of the founding board members, and she was able to visit the first well projects that we did in Uganda. And while she was there, she, you know, we were working with Africare at the time, and she spent time with an employee of Africare in Uganda, and she's kept in touch with him, you know, for 20 years. Well, he now works for water.org, which is, I think, the organization founded by Matt Damon. And when we were looking for a project this year, she reached out to him, you know, through LinkedIn, said, you know, we're looking for a project. And he, you know, put out some feelers. But in the meantime, we had gotten email to our info address, which we get them a lot, where people just send us proposals unsolicited, but you know, we don't have any resources to vet. And so we'd gotten this one from Life Water Kenya, and I forwarded it on to the rest of the board. I said, well, we have this proposal, but I don't know how we vet it. But Angela was able to check with Francis, her contact that she had made like 20 years ago in Uganda. And he said, oh, I know those guys. That's a good organization. And so we went back to them, and they had the project they had sent us was 75,000. And we said, you know, we can't do that. You know, we can do between 20 and 25. So they pared back the initial project to 10 wells, you know, at 25, between 20 and 25. And so that's a project that we're going with this year. But it kind of brought us back to our beginning, because it was, you know, a contact that we had made in the very beginning of the organization. And then we were able to say, oh, okay, this is a legit project. So we're excited about this one. And luckily there, I don't know how many people are aware, but there's really horrible flooding happening right now in West Africa, and Kenya is one of the hardest countries hit. But where the area where these wells are being built is not affected by the flooding, so it's able to go forward.
So that was one of my questions, was how do you find the projects and how do you make the connection? So when the organization first started, when you didn't necessarily have connections, how did you manage that?
Well, we found Africare, which was totally one of the board members, one of the founding board members at the time. We were just, you know, I don't know, was Google even a thing back then? I can't remember, but we were
like Yahoo.
we were searching, we wanted to find an organization where we knew that the money was going specifically to a well project. So and we didn't want it to be like some big, huge organization where it was just kind of, sending money in to we just go into some pool. And one of our board members at the time just was cold calling organizations and found Africa, this kind of big, small organization in DC. And it had been founded by Peace Corps volunteers, returned Peace Corps volunteers, but they had offices throughout Africa. Every year they would have a big gala event, and they would have a speaker, who they would honor. And that year, the honoree was Harry Belafonte, and Bono was the person who was introducing him at the gala. And the day that the board member called, Bono was in the Africa offices, to prep for the event. And so when, our board member called, and she said, well, we're a group of YouTube fans, and we want to raise money to, we wanted to go for a well building. And the woman who answered the phone was like, oh, Bono's in the building right now. So
No, I think it was Bono's in the building right now.
oh, yes, you're right. You're right. They never did get his name right.
It's like the universe was telling you something, though, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So we worked with them for years, and, they worked with, USAID, the Gates Foundation, but we were able to fill a very specific need for them. A couple of times we were able to fund projects. They would have like a big grant from the Mars Corporation, but it was for very specific things, and water wasn't included. So they would come to us and they would say, can you do the wells, in tandem with this big project? So they were able to use us in that way, where, our $25,000 projects would work for them. And so they sunsetted as an organization in the US, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And since that time, we've had to do some outreach, to find projects. They reincorporated as they're based in Africa, in Senegal now. But it's just a little bit harder to work with them there. So we branched out a bit and been able to find, through personal contacts, some projects each year. And we actually have another project in queue. So if we fund this one, we have another one ready to go.
So how can folks get involved? How can we help?
I'll go. So the easiest way is to go to our website, africanwellfund.org. That's where you can donate, and then also read about some of our past projects, find out about our future upcoming projects, of course. If you're on social media, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. So African Well Fund, just look us up, and you get to keep up with us. When we get updates from any of the projects we're currently funding, we'll post pictures, videos, and we've been lucky that most of the projects we fund, we can get those updates. So it's exciting, and we share that with you. But yes, so thank you for putting the link in the chat. So yeah, africanwellfund.org, and then follow us on social media as well. That's the easiest way to find us.
Listen, we are always looking for board members. So if you're passionate, if you're passionate about clean water and would like to help people and not get paid for it, but it makes you feel good, and you can probably plan a trip to Africa with with us at some point to visit the wells, because we've gone, well, pre-pandemic, we were going every other year, I think, on average. We're always looking for people to get involved and help us like make decisions and whatnot. So yeah, email that info address.
Yeah, and if there's any WordPress gurus out there, we could.
Oh yes, that's for WordPress. Keep our website a little more updated.
Yeah, our website's kind of
it's like a twice a year update.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so when Scott asked me to do this, I was like, oh, I have to do a lot of research. And I found that the Garden Tarts did a podcast episode with you all. And there was a teacher on there who had organized a water walk at her school.
Yes.
So can you talk about that a little bit? Because it was just such a cool project.
Yeah, so the teacher is Irma Magana, and she lives in Southern California like me. And we know each other as U2 fans, but she's also been a big AWF supporter over the years. And so when, she told me that her high school kids, she's an English teacher, were going to do a water walk to fundraise for African Wealth Fund. And this is actually the third year that they've done this, but this was the first year where I was actually able to attend and participate. And so I went, and yeah, it was just amazing to see how involved her students were. They built like the the course. It was like an obstacle course sort of, because they tried to mimic the conditions in sub-Saharan countries of what, and it's usually young people, usually young women, who have to carry water, back and forth from a well or a river or lake to back to their home. And it's not an easy walk, it's a long walk. And so to help, young American students or kids understand what it's like. We take it for granted. You turn on your water and your faucet and you get water. And just to see, the next generation of kids, most of them have no idea who U2 or Bono is, but that's not really the point. Like, this is so much, better, bigger than that. But it's great to see that, like, from one starting point, you end up inspiring this younger generation of kids. And I think the message that really got through to them is that it doesn't really take that much time or even money to make a huge difference in the end. And they ended up raising over $3,000 for us, which is the most they ever raised in the 3 years, they've been doing this for us. And it was just a awesome way to kick off the Birthday Well project for this year.
And I love what you just said, Allie, that, it doesn't take a grand gesture, right, to make a difference. I mean, the African Well Fund is like the perfect example of that, right? Like, it started off and now look at all the good you're doing. It's just, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think, not to speak for the founding members, but I don't think any of you thought that you'd still be going 22 years later, right? And then, here we are. And even though, we're still grassroots, and yes, it has its challenges, but that's also what makes us unique. And we've still managed to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives, being as small as we are, volunteer run, and just one project at a time. And the impact is, just beyond measure.
Yeah. So 22 years. So what's on the horizon? What's in the future?
Well, I joke that Bono's 65th birthday. We do kind of take it year by year.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, as long as U2 fans are still willing to show up every May, and we can, unfortunately, there's still a need for clean water in communities that don't have it, then we'll keep going.
Yeah, and the
Great.
fans have been and continue to be so generous. We also wouldn't be here all these years later if it wasn't for all the U2 fans, giving year after year and helping us fund these projects.
Great. Well, thank you for all the work that you do. And thanks for joining us. Does anyone have any questions? You can just ask them. You don't need to put them in the chat. I think we can manage it. All right. Is there anything else you all want to say, board members?
Just that we're still fundraising for this year's birthday fundraiser. I'm not sure where we are with totals. I think we have a very generous donor who offered a match up to every donation up to $6,400. So I think we're pretty close to making the match, which will put us really close to the goal of 20. I think is our goal $20,000. I think the project is 22, but I think our goal is 20. But if we go over, that'll be great. And like I said, we have another project in queue that, you know, once you get the proposal and you read about the need, it's like, you know, I want to be able to fund this one too. So yeah, as Anne said, we take donations. We keep putting the donations all the way through the end of June. As long as they're still coming in, they still count towards Bono birthday. Well, and we don't close off the card until then. So there's time for people
into the card.
Yep. There's still, and yeah, we know Bono gets the card. We know Bono reads the card. So when you leave the messages, you know, they're going to its intended source, recipient. So yeah.
And it's his favorite gift. I just wanted to thank all of the admins, Facebook admins that I post to share, and all of the fans that comment and like and, you know, participate. I'd also like to thank some of the YouTube community who have like you guys who are assisting in our, getting the word out there. We really appreciate it. And we did, the garden tarts have helped us a couple times. We appreciate them. And is it Teresa from Stories? I'm sorry, I don't think I have her name right.
Oh, Tasula?
Tasula, darn it. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Tasula. Thank you so much
Cut that
for
out,
interviewing us. And also the Zoo podcast on Spotify, Kevin had interviewed us this year, and we're just really appreciative for all the support from the community and all the excitement and passion.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Hopefully it's nice weather where you are. You can get out and enjoy a little bit more. Maybe see some northern lights again tonight.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.